Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Has anyone shown you how to actually be a manager and lead people? Well, Anna Marshall, founder of People Mastery, shares 5 essentials for first-time leaders in just a moment. Anna is also the author of On Your Marks, Get Set, Lead, a beginner's guide to people leadership. To start, Chris Ashmore asks Anna whether some people are promoted to manager without necessarily having the skills to be one.
The technical skills that got you to be the expert or the professional that you were are not necessarily the skills that are going to help you be a really good manager or leader. I kind of like to emphasise the leadership rather than the management. So yeah, that's definitely something that happens. And sometimes people are doing it for the wrong reason, like they want to get more money and they think, oh, if I step up into that role, I'll be paid better. And they're making that move for the wrong reasons, I think.
I suppose those who have been there the longest get the promotion, and that ain't necessarily the right thing either.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens, less so these days. I think, most organisations are across the fact that just because you've been here for a long time doesn't mean that you're the best. Sometimes we've got a fresh set of eyes and that can bring a lot of value. So I think when you're running a small business or an organisation, you need to be looking for who are the people that have the skills and capabilities and choose to be the leaders rather than those people are just, last person standing or they've been here the longest.
So what are some of the things that newly minted managers perhaps struggle with, do you think?
I think the transition is really difficult, right? And it's probably surprising to some people because there's probably one important thing that you need to stop doing when you make that move. And that is you need to stop giving advice. So when you've been an individual contributor, you're used to being the font of all wisdom on your topic. And when you step into the management or the leadership role, it's more about how do you enable other people to make decisions and come to conclusions. And so you need to stop being the expert and start being the coach. And that's probably the hardest thing about making that move.
Now, you have 5 essential lessons you'd like to share for those who find themselves in a leadership role for the first time. Can you run us through them, starting with, the first one, connecting with your team?
Yeah, for sure. I think connection, what we've noticed in the pandemic is it's kind of the connection and care factor, Do you actually care about the people that you're leading? And the pandemic has really put a spotlight on, those organisations and leaders who care for their people. They're the ones that are keeping people in the organisation. I kind of talk about, once you've kind of got the care factor down pat, then I talk about the magnificent 7, right? And they're kind of 7 simple things that you can do to connect with your team. So, have an open mind. Don't judge people based on what other people have told you. Keep an open mind, judge them as you find them. Use your hello and cheerio, greet them and farewell them as they come in to work with you every day. Look for some common ground, what do you have in common? And remember what they tell you, don't be one of those people that, they share something with you and it just falls out of your head. Remember some of those stories and what's important for them. Say you're sorry when you stuff up, really simple, but lots of people don't do that. Ask for help. Your team are there to support you and you're there to support them. And asking for help gives them that message that they're important, they have something to offer, so it's something really easy you can do. And the last one I would say about connection is be polite. Use your manners like they're free. They're in your back pocket. You can use them whenever you want. Make sure you use all your please and thank yous when you're working with your team. So they sound really simple and you'd think everybody does them, but they don't. Lots of people complain to me about how their managers don't connect with them in that way.
Right. Well, that's connecting. Your second essential is communicating.
Yeah.
What's that about?
So it's a little bit different here. And I guess one of the things as you make that role into being a leader is you need to figure out how to communicate with your people. And if you've got 5 people on a team, you're probably going to have to do that in 5 different ways. So what do you know about yourself and about them so that you can adjust to their style? So you need to be a bit of a chameleon and not so much of a one-trick pony. So it's on you to match their style, not the other way around. So when you're the lead, you have to do that. And also making sure that you've got not just team time, but one-on-one time so that you have time to discuss with them what's important to them. So that's what I would think is the important things for communicating.
And number 3 is focusing on your team.
So I don't know about you, Chris. Often when I talk to people, they tell me, you have 562 priorities. And so everything's important, which means that nothing is. So when you're focusing, it's all about what's the number one thing that's most important for the team. And as soon as your people know what that one thing is, then they can start saying yes to the things that take them closer to that and say no to things that are taking them away. So being really clear on why your team exists and what you're trying to do is really important for the team, and then you enable them to be effective.
The fourth essential is developing your team.
Yeah, this is probably my personal favourite. Being a leadership development consultant, I'm all about developing. And I think just as a bit of an aside, through COVID, people have been asking, what's going to keep people in organisations? And it's the leaders in organisations that develop and grow their people that are going to retain their staff. So this is a really important one. And it's not just training, it's not sort of just tick a box exercise. It's kind of thinking about how do you develop people as a whole, and sometimes we have to develop them outside of our business because we've got no other growth opportunities for them. And if you do that well, sometimes they come back in a higher position, so they can be boomerangs, which is always a positive sign. And make sure that you're providing that positive feedback, what they're doing well, and the feedback for improvement. So I've kind of talk about there's only two things: positive feedback, feedback for improvement, all about learning and growth. So there's no such thing as bad feedback, if that makes sense. So I think if we're doing that well, we're giving that positive feedback, we're giving them learning lessons, and we're having regular conversations about development, not just a tack on to your normal meeting, but, focused development conversations about you, that makes a really big difference for people.
And the fifth and final essential is resolving problems that would come up regularly, I would assume.
Yeah, that's your role, isn't it? When you're a leader, how do you enable the team to solve their problems? And I think, again, this is the difference. It's not just trotting out the answers. When you go to the deli counter at Woolies, Chris, and you're standing there and everybody's lining up with a number, some people's offices look like that. They're all waiting for the manager to dole out the advice. And I think we need to do that really differently. So we need to, again, be a coach and be present to people and asking them questions that help them resolve their own problems. And guess what? The queue at your door gets less because you're enabling them to be independent and to come up with their own solutions, and maybe even better than your solutions, which is awesome. And then they can support the team and each other to be effective. So that's what resolving problems is, coaching people through their problems.
Mm. And Anna, for business owners, what should they be thinking about when looking to promote someone into their first leadership role?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I was thinking about here, Chris. How to select those people, how do you go about that, and maybe how to support them when you get them in. So if we look at the selection first, if you're sitting back inside your small business or your organisation, having a good look around, who's already leading? You're not a leader just because you have the name badge and the job title, right? Who's already connecting and communicating and providing feedback to people and enabling others, right? So who the people that are really present, they've got great listening skills, they ask really good questions in meetings. So those kind of behaviours are the essence of becoming a good leader. So look for people who are leading in their own right now, and they're the people that you want to bring into your leadership roles. And secondly, when they get into that role, what can you do to support them? It's back to being the coach. Be present with them, listen to them, what are their challenges, ask them really good questions. And I think if we do those two things, we can really identify good leaders and support them to be their best. And I think there's maybe a couple of sort of danger signs, if you like, that you want to watch out for so that you don't get the wrong people in the role. And for me, there's kind of three things here. The first one is the people that are like, I've got this. They kind of have an absence of humility. So if you notice anyone like that, that's bad. Don't go there for leadership. Also maybe a lack of desire, like they haven't got much drive. So if you have people that don't have much drive, we definitely want to keep them away from leadership. And the last one is the I'm too busy trap. Oh yes, I've got so much on, busy. When you're a leader, you need to make time for your people. So it's on each of us to make time. So if we notice those people who are making time for people, they're really good people to bring into the role too.
That was Anna Marshall, Director of People Mastery. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.